What will this summer at Johnson's Pond feel like?
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Taco Comfort Solutions.
That's a question that I know I do not have the answer to, and I know since my phone has been pinging in the last couple of weeks for folks who have been interested in previous conversations and coverage we've had both on the television and on the radio side regarding the now famous Johnson's Pond. If it wasn't famous prior, it's certainly famous now, prior to what has been the controversies of the day with the current rights owner. You could say owner, but it's more complicated than that. The person who has the right to operate the dam, Mr. Sosha, who has become Coventry famous for all the wrong reasons. Anyway, what has been lacking in our conversation about this controversy is the town's perspective. And lo and behold, last week, after a judge's decision, which we'll explain, or my guest will do well to explain, and I'm sure will explain well, is the official position of the town. And lo and behold comes this press release. Here's a headline that kind of reflects what I'm talking about. Judge dismisses Johnson's Pond lawsuit over new state law. Now that was the water rights holders lawsuit, and this decision benefited the town. This conversation probably has a half a dozen layers. It's not easy. There's multiple litigations. You've got a association there of homeowners whose property values and quality of life are affected by what has been a declining water level, literally, and relationship with the entity, the newer entity that is now running the water operation there. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run the latest Channel 12 story on this. It's kind of like being in the middle of the sandwich. You order from the menu and it's a big conversation, or we're going to lunch is a big concept. Okay, we're talking about Johnson's Pond and all the controversies. That's the big concept. Well, you got some salami in the sandwich, and this is kind of where we're going to start with the conversation.
Water pushes its way through the dam at Johnson's Pond to leak. Just one of the many signs the dam owner's attorney says points to an eventual failure.
Something has to be done. We can't just sit around and hope that everything is going to be fine.
The attorney for the dam owners say they were concerned the incoming storms would make it worse. So once the lease with the town expired, they brought in some heavy equipment at the request of their engineer to do some work.
So my client didn't do anything to the dam itself. Instead, stacked up these boulders to fortify that wall in the event that if some of those other stones were pushed out, that these larger ones would hold back the remaining pressure.
Sosha Holdings attorney says they didn't need authorization or permits since they were doing emergency repairs, but the town disagrees.
Was it dire before? No. It isn't now, but it certainly is compromised. I may be able to walk with a broken leg, but it's not going to work as well as if neither leg is broken.
DEM police did issue a cease and desist. Their engineers returning to the dam Wednesday to analyze the impact of the work. The town's hired engineer who has been studying this dam says adding the large stone does stabilize the structure, but does not require intentionally damaging the spillway. Social Holdings says it did not alter the spillway, though they do want to dig in.
Take the pressure off, lower the water in the reservoir, and make it safer so that we won't have a failure.
The town's engineer says while capacity would increase, quote, the damage inflicted on the structure could lead to the uncontrollable failure they say they're trying to prevent.
Well, okay. Listen, Stephen Angell is going to have no difficulty articulating metaphors and or other kinds of concepts to try to get you to explain this whole situation. And even the broken leg thing, makes sense to me. If the whole story made sense to anybody, because in the middle of that sandwich, this particular dam matter in the imminent time period is just one component of what has been a saga and a half. Welcome, thank you for coming. Let's get some things off the table right away. I have been critical of the town of Coventry for and expressed some levels of exasperation, not being able to get a perspective. And lo and behold, comes this press release after a judge's decision that you can explain better than me last week. You've been the solicitor since late 22. I personally know how talented this guy is, so it's certainly not a question of your capability or competency to respond publicly to what's going on. So what has the town's position been, and why has it been difficult to get anything to pull teeth from the town of Coventry?
Sure. I can't speak to what happened prior to November 28th, 2022, which is when I was appointed. And thank you for having me, by the way.
Thank you for coming.
But what I can tell you is that in looking at this litigation, in looking at the process and the lease and everything that's connected with this, we decided that, and the council decided, that a team needed to be put in place of qualified professionals, which involved engineers and an engineering firm with the capability to do all of the things that needed to be done to assess the situation with the dam, the pond, and its structures, including the gatehouse. Not easy to find an engineering firm with those qualifications. We found one, knowing that they have these expertise in-house. The principal engineer assigned...
Because you don't find structures like this everywhere you go.
No, you don't.
Right.
And you know, it's like bringing in a real estate appraiser to say, this is how much I think the dam is worth. Well, how many dams have you appraised? Not many. Or if. And in this particular case, Chad Cox is the principal engineer assigned to this project. His resume is to die for impeccable. For example, one of their clients, he is the principal consulting engineer for hydropower dams in all dams in the state of New York. I think they have bigger issues with dams in some respects than we do.
Okay, we have a lot to cover. So you're telling me that you've loaded up.
Correct.
You needed to load up with expertise.
We did.
And there has been what, kind of a hesitancy for the town to step into any public conversation for concerns about down the road liability, finally getting a deal done that makes sense, the politics of all of that. What?
Yeah, I mean, it's really quite a salad, right? What really matters in that mix? What matters is a factual, disciplined message based in reality. And there are certain parts of a strategy that cannot be revealed in public, and we did not. The council was disciplined about that and understood what we were trying to accomplish. Last summer, we sued Social Holdings. We sued him based on at least 12.5 notices of default that were sent to them. They're upset with us. By
the town?
Yes.
Not
by the team, by our team.
Not DEM.
That's correct.
And those notices would be about compliance with the lease agreement that you have?
Correct.
Which is now since expired.
Correct.
Which is 2 days out.
Correct.
As we record on Thursdays, it's a few days out. It's expired at the end of March, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so listen, here's what we're going to do. We're going to break here. We're going to come back and we're going to kind of go backwards first and kind of explain to you, if you're just kind of tuning in, what this relationship is between the town and the guy who runs the water and what the legal issues are. Stay with us. The town leases from you. The town's lease is up next March, correct?
Correct.
Do you have an obligation to do a renewal deal with the town?
No, there was nothing whatsoever contained in the 2009 lease. They had leases dating back to the 80s. They had an agreement in the 70s. But there was a 1994 lease and also a 2009 lease, periods of 15 years. They're not fulfilling their obligations. I mean, we were in court last week alleging that the town does not have insurance. We're supposed to be a named insured on a policy.
Okay, so that's a while back, mid-year last year, as we were smack in the middle of the season, and folks wanted to have the July 4th celebrations on the water at Johnson Pond, and it just is, you know, it's not happening, and the water is rising, and it's going down, and it's up and down, and Patrick Doherty, the lawyer who you saw in that news package, was on with me, and I think on a number of occasions on both the radio and television, and was talking about his client's woes in terms of trying to protect his own liability, make sure the dam is secure. When storms come, lower the water. When they don't, bring the water back up. And of course, his client is public enemy number one in town because of the way he's comported himself in town and dealt with the folks who live around Johnson's Pond and required them to shore up all their facilities, docks, this, that, and the other thing, obtain insurance for this, that, and the other thing, da, da, da. So he's an unhappy partner to the town of Coventry / the folks of Johnson's Pond. And why he's unhappy is, I'll be interested to get your take if you have one on why he's unhappy. So you've got this river that creates a pond. It's kind of going back to the Stone Age, right? The river creates the pond. The pond ends up being kind of this cool place where it feels like a lake, and people buy houses around it, and they have a nice quality of life, and their property values are highly dependent on that quality of life and the, beachfront setting. It goes fine for a long period of time, right? There's a lease, a rights holder to the water, which was there for decades, correct?
Been there from the inception in the late 1800s. Quidnick.
They decide they're going to sell.
Correct.
And they're not selling the water necessarily, they're selling the rights to maintain the water. Is that a layman's correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's flowage, there are the dam structures, there's the land under the pond, and there was some other land involved in the transaction.
Okay. Then he sells to this Sosha guy, and this is now 3-4 years old, right? How long has... They assumed a current lease.
They did. They assumed a current lease, and the terms, as I understand it, the purchase price was about $1.7 million, that they put down $200,000. They owe Quidnick presently the balance of that in a balloon payment.
Oh.
If you look at the deed, there are tenants in that deed that require them to maintain insurance when they own it. It requires them to perform maintenance according to the law and regulations. So as far as I'm concerned...
And the deed is authorized by the town, correct?
No.
No?
No, that's between Quidnick and Social Holdings. That deed.
Oh, the deed that they issued then in order to acquire the property.
That's correct.
So Quidnick was trying to ensure the same kind of status and quality of life, I'm guessing.
Well, Quidnick was a pretty benevolent owner when you talk to folks around the pond.
Everybody loved them.
Yeah, and understand that Quidnick built a series of dams, albeit smaller, one of which is just upstream, dam number 176 at Stump Pond, which is also known as Coventry Reservoir, was built by Quidnick. There's a series of dams to impound water for purposes of, industry, many years ago. Those purposes have gone away, obviously, and been supplanted by recreational use.
Right, old electric, blah, 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 the way they used to do things in the old days. All right, so Social Holdings buys this thing for $1.7 million on paper primarily. That's good. That I didn't realize that they were financing with the owner. That complicates things a little bit. But the town of Coventry has a lease with them. You are the lessee.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want to renew.
Correct.
Where does that leave the current relationship, even if there wasn't litigation?
With the town or
yes.
with the residents? Or both?
It's therein lies the frittata of this whole situation. And the politics of it too, which we should talk about in the next segment. But answer the question the best way you can. How does that... Okay, lease is expired. They own the land. Well, they own the right to do whatever they want to do. And Coventry, the people of Coventry, or the property owners in Coventry, want that access, and they want to play. Well, what up?
Well, first of all, they don't get to do whatever they want to do with the land under the water. Bodies of water are governed by DEM. And no matter who owns it, you have to play by those rules.
And the state just passed a law a couple of sessions ago, almost levitating DEM's role in governance and authority over a body of water like Johnson's Pond. Sosha would say, yeah, they passed a law for us, The legislature says, no, we passed a law for all like types of facilities. There's probably a truth lying in between there.
Well, notwithstanding the passage of that law, which the First Circuit, which I beg your pardon, the Federal District Court in New Hampshire, sitting in place of Rhode Island, made a decision that the law's constitutional. Now it goes to the First Circuit. I read the decision. It's 45 pages long. It's going to get upheld, okay? First-year law student would tell you that it's going to be upheld.
Okay, so
put that off to the side.
But by the way, not to put another thing into the mix, but there's some news. I'm recording this Thursday afternoon. You're seeing it online whenever you can. Friday and Sunday, you're watching this on television, but you probably will have heard news that DEM has made some decision regarding the pond. What is that?
Yes, it was the night before last. They issued a cease and desist based on activities at the pond where SOSHA was excavating the natural spillway.
What we saw.
Correct. And by the way, they can say they're stacking anything that they want up against the face of the dam to shore it up. That's the improper method of repair of a dam.
It looked like a.
It's improper. And any engineer.
It looked like a campfire operation, just grabbing rocks and putting up against the dam.
And dinging it out of the riverbed.
Okay.
Which is a big issue.
All right.
Now they needed, notwithstanding the Dam Permitting Act that was just recently held to be constitutional, there are existing rules and regulations at DEM with respect to the maintenance, repair, and decommissioning of a dam.
So if they've drained the pond, right now the pond is somewhat empty, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. DEM says cease and desist. Does that mean that DEM has the authority to make them adjust the dam so that water spills back in?
Well, more importantly than that, the concern immediately is that the recent actions that Social Holdings has taken has compromised a structure that, in our view, was uncompromised. So now, my sense is that DEM will take action to get Social Holdings to make the repairs. Social Holdings will tell you, oh my God, there was this emergency situation. Regardless of who caused the situation, Mother Nature or otherwise, those repairs need to be made, and DEM is going to require that they be made.
Judges stop things. They don't often order people to do things. So how is that going to resolve?
That's a DEM enforcement issue. That's a DEM enforcement mechanism. Now, mind you, we still continued to roll forward with the cases in Superior Court before Judge Leach.
There are two cases, correct?
There's one where he sued the town, and there's our action against him. Now, we filed an amended complaint the day after the day of these actions being taken, okay? Essentially saying, hey, we told you this was going to happen, okay? And we impleaded the Johnson's Pond Association, and we've brought in DEM as plaintiffs. So now they're at that state table before Judge Leach.
Right, when we come back, how does this ever resolve? And who's really calling the shots? Be right back. All right, so that's some of the work that my guest Stephen Angell was talking about. He's acting as the solicitor for the town of Coventry. Here's the thing that I find fascinating. You got 600 plus or ish homeowners and all the people they invite for recreation, and this Johnson's Pond has been pretty much wide open if you can get access. It's a place that people know that they can go recreate. Town of Coventry's got other issues, big issues, and it's much larger than this segment of the population. So I've been wondering all along about what is the dynamic. Is the town, and you're not elected, you're appointed to represent the town, so I don't know how far you can go with this, but what's the priority for the town? Is it saving this pond for the Johnson's Pond property owners and those who recreate there? Or is it really Johnson's Pond's problem and you don't really want to go back into a lease agreement? Or are you going to do what I think ought to be the inevitable thing, and that is just buy it from this guy, although he wants $160 million. You said something funny in the press conference. I don't have time to say. What did you say in the press conference?
I said he wanted $100 million, and when that didn't work, he wanted $61 million.
$61 million, okay.
Right.
Yeah. He bought it for 1.7.
Correct.
There's a reasonable number somewhere, correct?
It's an appraised number.
Yeah. What is it?
We're not in a position to talk about that yet.
You're not going to litigate on the television show? I can't believe that.
No, that's not what we do.
But there is the town would buy it if it was reasonable, correct?
When you say town, there's any number of ways that the town could acquire this that would make sense
Create an association.
for the entire town of Coventry. And that is, when you talk about political will, I'm fortunate to work for this council. This is a council that is willing to spend the time and the treasure to protect the town and to make a statement, really, to everyone else. This isn't just about Johnson's Pond. This is about the town of Coventry. If you're going to do business here and you're going to do things in the town of Coventry, you're going to do it the right way or don't come.
But am I mistaken when I suggest that there's a resolution that needs to be done outside the courts, that there needs to be a transaction? You got to buy this guy out and get back to normal operations there, correct?
Yes.
All right, so how that happens is anybody's guess. Here's the ultimate pedestrian question. Will people be recreating at that site this spring and summer and fall?
Not after 2 days ago. He pulled the plug out of the bathtub. He made sure of that with his reckless actions. Yeah. When this dam is repaired and how it's repaired is really anybody's guess and really dependent upon how DEM is able to push him, and now based upon construction schedules to get it done, would be my guess.
What if he just wants to build condos anyway?
Not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, crazy.
That's not going to happen.
I just wonder, we only have 20 seconds here, is there any entity, DEM notwithstanding all due respect to the agency, that can force him to get it back to a normal lifestyle for everybody?
At the moment, DEM holds those cards, but those cards only go so far.
All right, could be a dry summer.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And there'll be more conversation, no doubt, on the radio side and follow-ups here. Final word. Yeah, it feels like the pond is in the proverbial rock and hard place with this series of events, but fret not, there's always a wild card development, and we'll try to stay in touch with it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the radio weekdays 3 to 6 on WPRI next week, and back here. Bye.